All right, ladies and gentlemen, Fnatic versus G2 is over. Um, you know, you think players change, you think form. G2 comes in with an all-time low in terms of the issues that they are facing. Fnatic looking good, only dropping a series against SK early on in the season that was silly. And that game 3 against Koi. Coming into this one, seemed like Fnatic had an opportunity to do something nice, something good, defeat G2. And even if in a world where they defeated G2, we wouldn't praise them that much because Casey was the bigger fish to fry. The last time Fnatic placed higher than G2 was in 2021 when I coached. We beat the Reckless roster. Yeah, I know, I like mentioning that one. It's one of my proudest achievements. Someone's telling me that G2 joining forces with Reckless would kill the league, and we managed to make sure that they don't go to Worlds in a 5-game banger with Bippo jungling. But back to reality. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 2 times, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, offer me a lobotomy. Thank you very much for the tier 1. Ladies and gentlemen, in terms of the game today, like in terms of my initial thoughts, like we can pull up the drafts. I think in game 1, I think I was worried that G2 gave up Vi on blue side. They gave up Pantheon on blue side. I thought in terms of their prios and allowing Fnatic to take away Azir and Talia was kind of a dangerous proposition. I did feel like that put Fnatic in a good position in the driver's seat in this context, which I think is super relevant. I think in game 1, the big thing that stood out was just G2 in game 1 kind of looked very similar to how they did in regular splits, where there were always fights being taken where Labrov and Scumond just weren't on the same page and literally on the same screen. Whenever they were on the same page, same screen, and contesting the same areas, and they were actually communicating about what they were doing, they looked so much better. There was such a contrast and a juxtaposition when they were in sync and when they were desynced, and it was very clear that this is something that G2 has been working on. This is also something that we address as the biggest concern about G2 is that jungle support just didn't have that same amount of impact. And I think in this first opening one, Razor found really good gank angles, and so did, of course, Rel. And then in the end, I think Caps as well was trying to find angles to fight, and he took some really bad ones. And I think that Vi and Rel were just first into every area, and they were very quick to punish Caps when he was looking for just all-ins. I think also it's like if you look at Azir, Vi, Rumble as your 1, 2, 3, and picking Akali when Vi is open rather than picking a Vi away and then playing it by ear. I think that was a big question mark draft here for G2, and this is of course a potential flaw. The Rumble open, this is something that they tried after a whole season of banning Rumble, but it is what it is. In game 2, G2 pounced back. I think the biggest thing for me that stood out for Fnatic in terms of their composition is that the pairing of Renata here together with Talia Pantheon, I don't like too much. Usually in a spot like this, when you are not sure about which AD you're going to be able to pair together with Nautilus, I think a big one that stands out is just picking Braum here or finding a different way to actually, have engaged support. I think picking Leona here too would have been good. I don't like the Renata lock-in necessarily here. I think that Renata could have been fine. It could have worked. But I think the big detail that we saw is that while Oscarine is willing to lock in at whatever makes sense for his composition, I think a very big problem here for Fnatic is that often Oscarini played in isolation, and then when he played in isolation, he gave so much away. Additionally, I have to highlight the fact that Caps was solo killing Humanoid twice on side that broke open the game when Fnatic actually had decent positions. A big question mark was that Fnatic never found angles with Talia and Pantheon to punish a Gnar who had no summoners and no flash. And if you don't snowball the Yorick and he falls behind, he's going to be completely useless. This is 0-3 Yorick in the LEC. This is just something that is not working out for the LEC teams. I think on paper, this is a good draft to get Yorick ahead and to really suffocate Gnar on side and make Yorick completely unkillable and untouchable. But what ended up happening is that Broken Blade got solo kill onto Yorick and good condition. Ari solo killed Talia twice. And then in the fights later on, you could see that Razork was showing his usual self. You know, he was over-engaging, overplaying, and found himself in some rough positions. And then in the end, Broken Blade on Gnar just found a tremendous Gnar ult that just decimated everything. And I think that the main thing that you can always say about BB is, sure, there are scenarios where he doesn't play the right champs. There are scenarios where his counter picks don't work out. But I feel like if BB gets to the team fights, he's always been pretty damn demonic. That's what makes his Jax always so unique, that while his Jax, in terms of laning, wasn't always the greatest, even though in this series, it was a pretty decent, pretty fantastic Jax lane that he played against the Gwen. It was always like in the team fights, he found ways to just get 5-man Jax combos in, and he got massive stuns and massive angles. That Gnar ult on top of the combo that they set up was just marvelous. I think the main thing that stood out in terms of Fnatic's performance was just the solo lane gap was massive, and I feel like Skumond and also Labrov were really growing into this series. I think this game 2 really stands to highlight that, you know, in this matchup that they played, the Nautilus, Labrov actually, you know, did a good job. You know, he got the Q flashes in, and I saw, you know, Labrov and Skumond actually being on the same page, on the same screen, looking for the same angles, which is a big step up for G2, a good way of punishing. There's definitely scenarios in the in-between that they look very rusty on this, but it's clear that they are working on it. I'm not saying it's far from perfect, but it's definitely, you know, a step in the right direction. They seem very aware of their problems in terms of how jungle and support plays together, which is a very big deal in my mind. This game 3, I think that, you know, this one was the most confusing and probably the most disappointing from Fnatic's side. It's like, considering the angles that they found in terms of the dives and how they played it out, you know, I do think that once again, Oscarinin and, you know, just Humanoid, extremely disappointing. I think then the main thing that stood out once again as well with Razork is just the fight angles that they keep looking for. They seem to only have really one gear in terms of how to play out fights. And I think that makes up for just a terrible scenario. Let me see if I can find the specific game. Game 3 coming up. So the game condition was crazy. After that top dive that they did, the execution, I could just show that real quick. Like they managed to massacre them in the top dive here onto Hansama. Like this play should legit, like this play should explode the Nexus. You know, just it should explode the Nexus. Hansama dies under the turret, burns 2 Psalms. Labrov dies 2. Triple kill, you know, 3 kills for Kalista. It should be a Nexus explode. It doesn't matter that Gwen's conditions are absolutely in the toilet. It should seal the deal, right? And in the in-between, there was also plays they tried to do to make sure that Kalista's behind. Even Humanoid got in on the action, like this particular sequence where they tried to jump after Humanoid. The fact that Humanoid gets caught is obviously a big damn problem. But with some semblance of luck, he gets the fear in onto Broken Blade so he doesn't CC chain him, and then G2 don't know how to back off. And after this sequence here where Broken Blade goes to hug his teammates to spread the love of the Hui ultimate, they get the YamatoCannon, and this game should just be lights out, because realistically getting onto this Hui should be close to impossible. But this Hui gives away a massive shutdown for no damn reason. I have no idea. Like, looking at the details of this should really get you angry, because Humanoid is contesting a neutral wave when his teammates are in base because their tempo is worse, because they're just, you know, we're just on the map doing the YamatoCannon and doing the play. And looking at the continuity here, right? After the Atakan, he's like you see in the pip here, they're doing the Drake. Like you all you need to do is pay attention to the tempo. Like Tarek is basing on the map right now. Rakan is showing on bot, and you have no info on Poppy. Skana is going out on the map because you did Atakan and Drake, and you're winning the game so hard. But instead, Humanoid is contesting a neutral wave that really doesn't change a single aspect of the game. The enemy simply has a tempo advantage, and Humanoid uses flash, and he dies. And this is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. It's crazy. It's crazy. Hansama gets accelerated, and obviously with crit 80 carries against, on hit ones, the main pain point is that your items are much more expensive. They're very, very expensive. And here Zaya gets back into the game after all these kills and deaths. It doesn't matter that he's 30 CS behind. Kalista and Tariq are now on the back foot, but it's okay, right? Still, 3k gold ahead, 2 dragons, 3 grubs. You should still be able to win, no problem, right? You have all the things in the world. I think Skewman in a lot of cases, I think the Poppy ults that he did and ran with, there were many cases where I think he should have just swung and released. Here as well, Humanoid insanely lucky that the Tactical comes through. Mickey really clutches it out here. Just look at the frame where he gets the ultimate. Skewman goes for the engage to deliver Labrov, and then there's a charm. Labrov does the dance, holds W maybe a little bit too long, and Humanoid gets full spells off, and Mickey gets a massive 3-man combo, which of course is vicious and delicious. And in the end, Fnatic win a fight. Should be GG. We're going to move to the moment that really broke open the game. I'm going to show you guys this one because it's not this one. A little bit later than this one. This one. This one. So here, another issue that Fnatic we need to highlight with Fnatic. It's just here they decide to hit the Drake with Gwen. They're trying to look for this engage angle. And Humanoid just misses his spell on a target that is, he throws his E on it, misses. So Fnatic now in position, they're looking for third Drake. Gwen is hitting it, no problem. And now they're trying to cross into top side to try to get the vision. Oscarinin is in this moment on bottom, and he has no TP. And I'm pretty sure that G2 just know. And after pushing Fnatic out and pushing the top wave all the way, they just decide to hit Nash. And G2 recognizes this big tempo advantage they have because Kalista Tariq is on base. And I think they showed on the mid ward. And G2 do a very clever play here. But I think the mistake, the follow-up here, that Broken Blade tries to cross into mid and gets caught, I think it just speaks to the level of the LEC. I think a big winner of who the person... Like, who's looking at this and is the biggest winner is KC. Because I don't see a world now where they don't win another title. It just looks close to impossible, honestly. This is the final sequence that I really wanted to show because this really made me angry. Watching this one. I just want to take a look here what was actually the signal here for G2 to do it. So Hansama. Oh, cheeky. Oh, cheeky Hansama, cheeky. This is one of his anime moves, bro. Oi. Alright. Nevertheless, they do this cheeky Nasher. G2 kind of give it away. They throw it away. But it's fine, right? Because everything comes down to the Dragon. It's just that G2 don't get much out of their Nasher, which is, of course, sad for them. I just want to take a look at this Drake situation. All right. So here, Fnatic is holding this line. And the main thing they should play for here is just to rotate humanoid spells. There's no reason for them to pull the trigger because right now there's a blue trinket being used for G2 on, of course, the Dragon, which allows them to face check. The way you retake is you take blue trinket, use it on Drake, whoever you spot around Drake, you're going to easily just enter into the area, right? Because the enemy is hitting Drake means there can't be 5 in the area that you're face checking, no problem. But in this particular scenario, all they need to do is rotate Hui's spells because if Hui is poking, they are winning. But for some reason, Fnatic feel inclined to pull the trigger. Gwen is currently hitting. Humanoid has spells on CD. Humanoid should just be allowed to poke here, and then they should make it as hard as possible to enter by holding Tariki and holding Skanai. But once again, Fnatic doing the usual thing of pulling the trigger. Tarik ult comes down, Skana ult comes down, and Oscarini can't fight in the first place because the Dragon is CCing him. But look at the timing here from Caps, where he snaps and finds a mass... Oh, it's even Labrov. I remember that Annie being the one snapping. Ooh! Labrovador. I didn't even see that he was the one getting the snap in. But there's Annie Tibbers. They all get kind of clapped and one snapped. Gwen pretty much didn't contribute anything. And Fnatic are playing way too fast when they have the range advantage with Humanoid. And now the game, of course, went back into G2's direction. The follow-up. Oscarini once again, he has Ninja Tabi and he's walking into an Annie who's level 17 and has Tibbers. I don't know what the angle is here, but I think at some point it's crazy, you know, because Oscarini is chasing it with such a level of confidence. But like it's kind of that scene from Indiana Jones where what the other guy is like swinging his blade around and then he just gets shot in the head. Oh my days. And G2 from this position know already that all they need to do is stall. Easy peasy. Stall. Now G2 is the same way. It's like, yo, we're gonna be pushing bot here. All you need to do is cancel bases, and Hansama pops off completely. Hansama is truly the Gumayushi of Europe. Hansama is the Gumayushi, Upset is Viper. It's truly, you know, it's truly the way, you know, in terms of the play styles. It's truly the play styles. Wow. And Fnatic won this. I think after this, I think it was very, very clear, right? It's like you have some players performing, some players not performing. The AD carry pool was very attacked here. Draven, Lucian ban on blue side. Nico first pick. I think that Mickey looked good on Nico. I think people criticized him for this game. I don't think it's very fair. He was looking for engage angles, and I think that, you know, his teammates couldn't play around it right. I think once again here, Razork had a stinker. Razork had like good mechanics in the first game, and then it just went downhill, further and further. Even in that game 3, his first 15-20 minutes of the game, I think is better than anybody in Europe. But his mistakes are so damn costly that if the game isn't super one-sided, you don't know what you're gonna get with him. You're really not gonna, you just don't know what you're gonna get with him. And if you want to be a championship winning team, like at this point, my boy Razok, you need to get your shit together, man. The angles that he's going for, his spacing, his misunderstanding of the pockets he needs to play in, how he uses Sejuani ult, it's tough, man. It's tough. Razok is still mechanically insanely talented, as we saw in that game 1 with the Vi, and even in some cases on the Pantheon. But it's just that overreach perma. They're not playing around abilities. Like Fnatic just don't have a single clue about how to play around their composition strengths unless they just, you know, like have a composition that their whole job is to just go forward. It just seems like Razork has one gear after a certain moment in time. And in this particular game, I think Skewmon on the Trundle stood out as a massive one. They isolated again Oscarinin. It's like this is a draft where you hope that the Orianna and Camilla are going to be able to carry. And in the end, of course, they couldn't. Ambessa got super far ahead. And then in one of the final fights, Tristana, upset on Tristana, got, you know, just snagged by the Ambessa. He got one shot and Kaiser just got way too fed. There was also another one of those games where Fnatic just got ahead, but it just ended up not mattering in the end. Because some of these sequences in terms of how they played out, just take a look here. Razork, he's playing Aftershock, right? He's playing Aftershock, And then Sejuani has a passive that also gets her stats. He's playing Aftershock, which is already super wrong. And then there we go. Is Razor making these mistakes in regular season, but you not notice it? He's making these mistakes too. I think in winter and regular split he did this. Yeah, for sure he did. But I think that Fnatic are just stomping a lot more games, so you get away with it a lot more, you know? In playoffs, it gets costly. It's just that in playoffs, teams are a little bit more tight because they prepare for one another, you know? That's why it like shows. I think like Fnatic can get away with this when they are much better than their opponents. But when it's like more equal footing, I think that these mistakes become glaringly obvious, right? So as you can see here, like this is a Sejuani. Look how fast a Sejuani melts. I've never seen a Sejuani die so fast. But the judgment of how they fight and how they pay attention to each other is just really, really bad, you know? Really, really bad. And there's some sequences that G2 also fuck up. Like Fnatic got a Nash in the end, right? But we could take a look at the fight that just decides it all in the end. Like, I don't understand. I'm watching this live, and we have a replay. Fnatic have Nasher, and we have a Camille on the mid wave, and here we have this situation. Where G2 set up a trap on top side after sacking mid. If nobody's on mid, you wait, right? This is number one rule with Nasher. If nobody shows, you play on the waves and let your minions be your walking wards that are going to spot the enemy. And right now, Camille has no info. There's no reason to face check. You can play on the wave, stand behind Humanoid, make sure he doesn't get caught, and you play time. You don't rush. You can slow push this wave because Camilla's on mid wave. You can just wait. You can just wait and play patiently. Right? They blue trinket the top river. They are aware of this trap. Look, they blue trinket the top push, literally. They blue trinket the top push, literally. Right? If you see the minimap right there. Come on, man. Come on. Come on, man. Come on. Hey, Humanoid, I don't know where he's going. I don't know what this autopathing is. I don't know where Humanoid is going. He thinks he's invisible or something. He has an invisibility cloak from Hogwarts. Like, what is that pathing? It's just, you have Nash, let the minions speak for themselves. Let them get you information. Let them be the ones going to the front lines to get the information. G2 not showing on midweb, they are trapping. You know this. You know this. You know this. And the continuation of the game. We have the Drake fight coming up. I'll just show you guys that one. I guess we can check the Nash too because, you know, Mickey tries to find an angle. He finds it. But I just don't know. Like, the tethering is just a little bit off, you know? Because if you're in a position where you have Orianna ult to follow up, maybe there's something. But it's not an easy Nico game to play, in my opinion. Because Gali ult is always going to fall on top of the ult of the Nico. And Nico just can play these angles. Like, sure, you can maybe play on range of Orianna and let them come in a little bit longer. But it's like the windows of your timings for Nico are certain ones that you need to just take, you know? Especially when you're trying to flank. So, like, it's hard for me to criticize Nico because this is just an issue you face as Nico. You're an engaged champion that is insanely squishy. So the angle that you get, you need to take it. That's like the rule of the game. That's why like Nico games are so sporadic. I think Mickey had a good game, you know? But in the end, he did like this engages didn't work out. Oscarini ends up in space. You know, Mickey got out as well. Like Mickey walked out. I don't know. Oscarini just read on how to play the lanes, how to play the fights was just really, really off, man. Let's just take a look at this final fight here. Here's Hansama pop-off moment. Hansama really woke up at the end of game 3 and also in this game 4. He just turned into a different player. I feel like G2 just scaled into the series more and more. And in the end, that was like the crucial thing. The fact that Broken Blade survived here with 1 HP was such a big deal. Such a big deal. Yeah, in the end, if we're going to just rate everybody for this series, I think the BB was crucial. I think it was really good. I think they made a couple of mistakes. I think this entire series, there was plenty of mistakes that you can criticize players for. I think Oscarinin, besides that Rumble game, had a very weak performance. I didn't feel his presence at all. I think Oscarinin got completely smacked in the Yorick game, fell extremely behind, was allowed to recover, and then when he recovered, did absolutely nothing with the Gwen. Um, Camille, I think there were scenarios where he got completely sold, but even in the fights later, I think he was just a complete non-factor, and I think that this was just an atrocious series from Oscarinin. Really, really bad. On BB's side, there were some mistakes, like there was an over posturing on the Nar. There was like the Nasher cases with Jax, or like the team fights on Jax that weren't the greatest. But that's okay. Today an 8 was enough. I think that BB put in a decent amount of effort. I think that it's a step in the right direction, which is solid. The jungle, I think Razork, early games were pretty solid, right? I think Pantheon, Vi, Scanner, mechanically, early games were good, right? Were good. But in terms of some of the fight selection later, especially the Pantheon, the Scanner angles he took, the Sejuani in particular, I gotta rate him lower. It brings me a lot of pain to see my boy play like this, but I need to put him lower. His early games don't mean shit if it doesn't carry over. If you get a lead and it doesn't change how you play the game, then that lead is not meaningful. It gotta be meaningful. It gotta be meaningful, Skewmond, I was worried about Skewmond, I was worried about Skewmond. I think mechanically, I didn't think his poppy was that clean, but that's okay. I was happy to see a different version of Skewmond today. I saw him as a guy that farms, gets strong, and carries through himself. And I think that he added that flair to the Poppy gameplay and to the Chondo gameplay, but at the same time, he showcased that he can play different roles and showed a lot of depth today. I think he showed a lot of depth, which I think is really good. I like fair play to Skewmont. I think he showed growth in this one, which I think is a really, really big deal. I think he deserves an 8 here. He deserves an 8. Mid lane, Caps, even in game 1, even though he took some bad fights and Skewmon and Labrov, like he misjudged the timings and like looked bad, he was 10 CS ahead. In Akali versus Azir, just dry, minute 5. He was 20 CS ahead. And I think that, in the end, I think the Vi and Rel just had way better tempo and timings. And I think Caps, I'm not blaming his jungle and super, because obviously Caps needs to read that well too. But I do think that the jungle super gap was pretty big in that game 1. But then I look at that Ari game. He solo killed twice. In the Annie game, he found the game-winning plays, right? Killing the Gwen, angles, and so forth. The Gala game being solid across the board. I think Caps had a pretty fucking solid series today. I think he did a really, really good job. I think just an 8 from me, dog. Just an 8. I think he did a great job. I think he did a really, really good job this series. Humanoid, on the other hand, Azir, he was dry behind on CS. What the hell is that? Talia dying twice. Some of the gold he gave away, this humanoid, he was 3 items ahead, was very unimpactful. He found some good angles, but honestly, that fight he found on bottom side where he survived on very low HP, it was like so lucky. It's like you're not sitting there, I'm gonna bait them guys, survive with 1 HP, and then the Taric ult will fall down, I'll get my combo off. Like, it's not what you're doing. You're just playing out a scenario that you happen to be in, and it happens to go your way, which is the story of Fnatic. It's like the predicaments they find themselves in are so extremely random and trigger happy, and they either play them well or they don't, and it's not tied to any game identity. And then the Oriana game was fine. Like, I think he deserves a higher rating than Oscarinin, but not much higher than 3. And This is after me defending humanoid, I think, it's something that I'm realizing, with Fnatic. I think it's specific to humanoid and Oscarinin and Razork too, is that I think that they look damn good against bad players. Like when they play against damn players, they look like some of the best players in all of Europe because they just shit on them so extremely hard in ways that are just astonishing. But whenever the game needs honesty, all of their flaws are just so apparent, All of the flaws just become so damn apparent, This was like probably one of the better Caps Annie games ever. I don't have a good memory of Caps Annie's games. Ball lane, I think Upset Corki was pretty damn solid. I think that the lane phase looked good for Hansama, even though they lost this game. I think Hansama had nothing to do this game. I think this was a quiet Senna game, didn't need to do much. But in the end, I don't think that's Hansama's fault. That's just the role of the champions. I think in the Xayah game, he got completely fucked. But I didn't see the Xayah game as a good game from Hans. The ending was really, really good, right? But I do think he was in a very, very rough spot. Like Labrov and Hansama got really, really fucked in that game 3 against the Kalista Tarek, plain and simple. There was a big hole in that bot lane matchup that made a Jax that was really, really far ahead not be able to contribute, Like the Kalista Tarek conditions, I think that they did a heavy one. But in the end, this one, I think that he really, 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 popped off. I think this was a very, very strong game from Hansi. I think across the board, I think Hansama, I think he deserves an 8. I think he lands next to his teammates. For me, I think Upset. There were moments in the Tristana game where I wished he just squeezed a little bit more, Maybe he reacted, got presence of mind, procced on Tristana, and he got an angle in, and he, popped off in that Tristana game. I think, and then that Zeri game, I feel like that Zeri game is just kind of fucking hard to play with Renata support. There were moments where he should have flashed and just didn't flash in that game too. Like he held on to flash for way too long. But I think that Kalista game was really, really insane. Corki game was really, really good too. But I think that Tristana game, maybe if he just played 1% better, he could have carried his Inting teammates, but that's fair criticism to levy against him. But in the context of his teammates, Mickey and Upset were gods, in comparison to the other 3 that they have on their team, But for this one, I think Upset, I'm going to give him a 7. And sometimes, I don't necessarily think it's tough always when you are comparing a player that won and a player that lost, especially in an AD carry position where you have to do with what you're given. You gotta make do. I do think that the Zeri non-flashes and the misreads in 2 Tristana fights, I'm holding that. I'm holding Upset accountable for those in particular. I think it just makes sense. But I think the big one still is that game 3. That game 3 is just, I don't know. You punch a wall for that one if you're Mickey and fucking Upset. You punch a damn wall that your teammates gave this one away. You really, really punch a wall. That one is really something else. That was the one game that changed the whole series, in my opinion. Support, I think Mickey played fucking phenomenal today. There was some Renata ult angles that I didn't like. I think the Nico game is just tricky to play, honestly. I think, Nico is a champion that is insanely hard to play, guys. In drafts like this, in my opinion. And you get shots that you need to take. And you gotta hope that the windows are good. It's like you're engaging with a champion that is relatively squishy, and you can lose your flash like this, you can lose your life like this. You need to be very, very sharp, man. Insanely sharp. I think Mickey was pretty fucking good today, man. I think the big thing for me with Labrov in particular, I really liked his Nautilus game, his Rakan game, and finally his Leona game. I feel like Labrov is finally fucking connecting to the fucking game, you know? Like, he's finally fucking connecting to the game, which I think is a really, really, you know, a big plus, you know, a big plus. It seems like G2's working on their flaws, you know, which I think is cool. But in the end, I'm going to drop a 7 on Labrov. Still, there are moments where the jungle support duo is just kind of getting punished. And I think if Fnatic played out their winning positions better, I think that we would view those mistakes a lot more critically, you know? But Labrov 7, I'm happy with a 7. Mickey an 8 for me. I'm just double checking all the ratings. What did I give Hansama in the end? I guess 7 and 8, no? Or they're just getting deleted, whatever. I did them all. Yeah, weird series, man. I said it at the beginning. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 82 times. Like, bro, sell me a bridge in Scotland or something. Don Jake went to a watch party. Joined this Saturday at Red Bull Gaming Fair for El Clasico. And it's empty, bro. How crazy is that? It's goddamn empty. Jesus. Esports Winter's here, guys. Final thing for us to do, we gotta do the rounds, guys. We gotta do the rounds. This post has been deleted by moderators. All right. Let's take a look at what the G2 subreddit. Let's see what the G2 subreddit says. Hans Mama. All right, Hans Mama. Hype to Hans Mama. The Zaya pop-off was cool. The Kai's game was brilliant. Really, really good. Hans Mama and Caps. Everyone's hyping up Hans Sama. I feel like this is recency bias driven, you know? People are looking at that game 3, 4, you know, the ending, the last 40 minutes. I see that, you know, I see that. Because, bro, if you end on that game 2, for example, it is what it is, you know? That Zaya speaks Korean. Yeah. You know, it's always the same thing. You forget very fast all the problems of the game if you win and make a good play at the end of the game. It's the only thing that matters in the end. Respect to Hansi, respect. All right. Let's enter the dungeon. Let's enter the damn dungeon. Which one do we click? I'm tired, boss. Genuinely prefer a budget roster than the same crap we've had for years. Sure, we might not win any trophies, but hey, we aren't actually exactly doing that either. Embarrassing, just embarrassing. It is not even a surprise. Razork and Oscar really are low IQ players. I don't know how else to say it. Razork ulting with Pantheon, donating free to go G2 after good players. Perfect example of him as a player. Engaging onto Trundle with Sejuani. Hey, maybe this time Trundle misses ult on you and won't steal 300 MR away. He got too excited, he said to himself. It's actually insane how much of a choker Razork is. Says, I'm also someone that did not overhype a win at this stage in the past. I will not say it's over until it's over. You gotta hit yourself with the copium. You gotta hit yourself with the copium. When we'll be honest about Oscar, Do we really have to keep Humanoid, Razok, and Oscar past the split? Like, seriously, any reason to keep anything other than our bot side? Let's give everything else. It's sad because I feel that Fnatic were playing very good besides top lane. Where have you seen Huna doing well, so consistent? All right. Ah, people are being nice. It's the usual, bro. It's the usual. Like, bro, I'm holding my boy Humanoid accountable, bro. These fights, like, he got away with some serious murder, man. He got away with some serious murder there, man. I'm holding my boy accountable. To round this off, this discussion, I have to say, KC look like the biggest winners, but they play tomorrow. So who knows? Who knows, guys? Who knows what they're gonna cook up? Maybe Koi wins. I doubt it. But maybe they do. Maybe they do. Let's go, Justin. Yeah. Yeah.